She first. First, leader, greatness, hope, and dreams. Women have defied the norm and pushed through the barricades to change culture, technology, and life as we know it. Come listen to our weekly podcast and be inspired by the incredible stories of women and how they managed to be the first in a world that encourages women to be second. What are you waiting for? Be first. She is strong, she is deliberate, she is brave. She first. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us today on our She First podcast. On one of our episodes where we recognize that you are brave, deliberate, and strong. So we're going to just talk about that as well as just, have a nice chat. All right. So if you don't mind, Jennifer, just talking about a little bit about yourself, maybe how we met, what you do. Are you a mom? A good introduction of who you are in this lovely world.
Okay, yeah. So thank you for having me, Alice Mary. My name is Jennifer Williams, and well, I must confess that I'm not a firstborn.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've done first. I'm the middle child. So of course, when you're middle, like you don't get the chance.
Well, yeah.
Right? So anyway, you have to make your own
Mm-hmm.
choices and stuff. So yes, I am a mother, and I'm a grandmother of 2, soon to be 3.
Oh wow!
And
Congratulations!
yeah, and so I'm looking forward to that. Don't know how I'm gonna see them soon, because they're in England.
Oh, and COVID and everything.
Yeah. So pretty much that's it. Yeah, how we met.
Yes.
Right. It was through Rebecca.
It was through Rebecca.
Yeah. In the 21 days of
Yeah.
prayer at church.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I was looking for somebody to help me with my social media.
The website.
And the website and all things
Technology.
techie stuff. Yeah, and so Rebecca got wind of that, and she said, I know someone, and she said, she comes to the prayer. So yeah, so she introduced us. But I did see you walking in the mornings, because that year you came every morning.
I did.
Right?
I did.
And so I did see you walking in. I didn't know who you were. But you came in with, is it Daniel?
Yeah.
Right. So Rebecca introduced us, and I kind of tried to pull you out a little.
Reel me in. You did. She actually also introduced me and Jody as well.
Yes.
So Rebecca did a good job with those introductions and those meetings.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, it was good. When I met you, I felt that, okay, yeah, she's young, so she should know all these things. Yeah, it's not that I couldn't learn them. I don't really want to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that interest.
You don't really want to. And that's fair. And that's okay, right? Some things are not for everyone.
No.
And that's fine. That's fair. So what's your background? How did you get to come to Canada?
Oh, wow. So I was born in Jamaica, and I went to England at the age of, I think it was nearly 14. And
that's young.
I was young, and I spent many, many years in England, a whole lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
My son was born there. My son is now 46. So you know how long I spent. I'm going to give my age away at some point, I know. But yeah, I grew up there. When I say grew up, I became an adult in England.
Adult life was there.
Right. And so, yeah, I think it's unfair for me not to say. I was there for about 37 years.
Nice.
And life happens. I did love living in England. My family are there, so So yeah, I did enjoy it at the height of my career. That's where I was in London.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up in London. I grew up in a small town, and at the time it was like 2 miles by 2 miles, so it was really small,
Wow.
and villages around. But it was a beautiful town. Um, I read not long ago that it was one of the best town to live in England now. It was not a
Really?
city; it was just a
A
town.
town?
But it's what we call a spa town, which means the water,
Wow.
has kind of
Fancy.
yeah. There's some background, like historical background to
Mhm.
it. So yes, and so we grew up there. It's quite an affluential part of the country.
Mhm.
But we were not rich, but
Mhm.
we grew up amongst a lot
Yeah.
of people who were middle class,
Mhm.
And we went to school, and all my schooling was done in England, of course. So yes, and then I went and worked. I left that town, went to a larger city, and and I did my degree there. I didn't do it when I left school.
Mhm.
I guess we'll get to that.
Mhm.
So yes, so that was yeah. Then I don't know. I got the itch to kind of leave England.
Mhm.
Not because I wasn't happy, not because things weren't good. I had suffered a bout of illness,
Mhm.
and it was like a new chapter when I became well again.
Mhm.
During that illness, my boyfriend died. I wasn't walking with the Lord at that time,
Mhm.
and during that illness, my boyfriend died. I just I needed a new
New
start for
start.
me,
Yeah.
and so I decided that I would. I came. I came to a conference in Buffalo actually, and I had friends here in Canada,
Mhm.
in Whitby, and that particular friend drove all the way to Buffalo and took us across the border
Wow.
to Canada, and I thought that's it. This is where I'm gonna
This is
come because
my second home now.
prior to that, I was going to the Mediterranean, like Europe, kind of to see, whether I could,
Mhm.
live there. I spent a little time in Portugal, took tours and stuff, and
Wow.
although I loved it there, because my brother was living there, and I
Mhm.
thought maybe that's where I go, but it wasn't to be. But when I came to Canada, it was perfect for me
Mhm.
because we came to Niagara Falls and then we went to Niagara on the Lake.
Nice.
And
And
I
they're
loved
beautiful
it.
places.
Beautiful places, right? And but when I came in 2006, I ended up in Whitby because that's where my friends were.
Mhm.
So and I enjoyed living in Whitby. I was there for 10 years before I came to St. Catharines.
Nice.
So yeah.
You are well traveled, I must say.
I used to travel a lot more when I was younger, right? Yeah.
Right. Thank you for that background. It helps also just for our listenership to experience and listen to people that have traveled around the world, and for those that are worried that can I move? Can I? Nope. There's people that have moved their lives and they're successful. So
Yes.
thank you for that. The next part or segment that we're going to go into is She Did It. So right now you gave us a little bit of a glimpse of how you moved for work and you went to school and graduated for that. What do you do now per se when it comes to occupation or like service to the
Right.
community or
Right.
anything that has to do with your active day to day?
Yeah. So at the height of my career, which was in London, I did I was a project manager, but what my actual job was in process development, and so um, my boss would, or my director, I just called it my boss.
Yeah.
He would say, okay, so we need to change some stuff. This is what we want. So I would have to go back, talk to a lot of people, interview a lot of people, travel here or there, wherever I needed to go, and then I would have to um, get the processes together, something new. How can we align this thing, and make it work? And then I would give my recommendations, and so they would study my recommendations, and then if that were to happen, then maybe another person would deal with that. Sometimes they would say, "Okay, you do it."
Okay.
Right. So yes, it was a little scary at first, because sometimes they would send you to a department, and you knew that whatever your recommendations, that it was going to affect people's lives.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were going to lay people off.
True.
Or, they called it at the time deadwood. So if your skills were
not as good,
you were being used. So I had to be truthful, not according to what I think, but I had to say what other people thought, right? And then I would say, in my opinion. But when you think that other people's jobs really could be lost, or, but also people may be hired.
True.
Right?
Yep.
So that was what I did. I would go to, in HR, sometimes they used to call me 007.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
Because people didn't know why I would come and spend 3 weeks in their department.
Yeah.
Right? And there's always something missing, so I would be sent, and I would be doing the job that was missing.
Gotcha.
And talking to people. And it wasn't in a devious way. What is the word? The person who's in charge of that department would know that
you're here,
that I was there.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? But I had to look at things and take away my vision,
be objective.
Yes. And be very objective, because yeah. So anyway, that's what I did, and for most of the time, and I kind of moved around London a lot, because I worked with the larger companies, the governmental companies.
Nice.
Or I should say organizations, your Department of Education and Skills, and Houses of Parliament, those kind of projects, the projects I worked on. So they were very demanding. It was a very demanding job. It wasn't a big job like a director, but it was very demanding. And yeah, so pretty much that's what I did there. But then, so yeah, I told you my age was going to come out. So now I'm retired, right? I came to Canada. I worked for a short while in Canada, and now I'm retired. But I'm even more busy.
that's what I was trying to get to. For you to talk about how you are still, crushing it regardless of you having retired from your original profession.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because I came here, I worked in Toronto for 8 years, and then they laid me off, and I never went back to work. Not because I didn't want to, but I now know that this was God moving me towards something else.
Exactly.
And not that I wasn't offered jobs. I was offered jobs, but it just they didn't work out. And I knew in my heart that this was God. But I wouldn't submit to it. I wouldn't surrender to it. So he kind of pushed me. I say he kind of, but yes, he kind of pushed me in a little spot where I had to surrender to him and get up and do what he wanted me to do. So I moved here to St. Catharines, and in 2016. In
Mhm.
2017, I set up my event company,
Mhm.
Jenny Lane Events,
Mhm.
and so I I was hanging out with some Kiwanians, and they help people, and I was introduced to people who could help me with the business, people who could give me work or who could help me get work, and everything was perfect.
Mhm.
But I didn't get any contract.
Mhm.
And I knew what the reason was because that was not what God wanted me to do.
Yeah.
He had given me a vision like 14 years before of what he wanted me to do,
Mhm.
and I've been ignoring it for
Mhm.
all that time. So eventually I submitted, and he gave me this idea. My business was already set up.
Mhm.
I wasn't getting any contract, and so the idea came that I was going to do corporate events, which turned out to be my breakfast for women
Mhm.
and my conferences for women, uh, because he had called me into the ministry, and it was to minister to women,
Mhm.
right? And eventually, I met Adia and Jody
Mhm.
at church, and we started praying together. And this thing just kept, it was just in my face.
Mhm.
I could not do it.
Exactly.
Right. So I started talking to them about it. And I remember him saying to God, well, I can't do all this by myself. And he would say, there are women, just start talking.
Mhm.
So I started talking,
Mhm.
and they were ready and waiting. Jody was literally waiting to hear this, and so we started praying, and it didn't take long. I kind of put a little proposal together, and they received it, and we went along. I got a name, a couple of names, and they said, well, we like this one. And that's how Tableland was born.
Mhm.
And we've been doing Tableland now since 2018 November, when we had the first women's breakfast.
Mhm.
And and at the end we were stunned, and we said, what was that?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, the Lord just visited us, and women were being ministered to, and I knew I did the right thing.
Mhm.
And so we decided, okay, we're gonna go with this.
Mhm.
And that was Tableland. So now I'm busy with Tableland. We started a year ago, August last year, doing outreaches because of COVID, of course, because we can't be inside for the
Yeah, for the
breakfast and
breakfast.
the conferences. So we started doing outreaches, and so yes, God has blessed us with that. We started giving out bags of foods. We gave out 50 bags the first time, and a year later, we're giving out 150.
Yeah. So you said tableland. So whoever's out there and they don't know what tableland is, so in like 2 sentences, how would you describe tableland?
Tableland is a women's ministry,
Mhm.
and it offers women and men now the
Mhm.
opportunity to minister
Mhm.
and to receive encouragement. Um, and we are there for people.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, it is something I feel humbled to be part of. Sometimes I sit down and I'm like, this is going to be big. It is going to be big because now the in thing, women are like taking charge everywhere in the like US has its first female vice president. Like women are like the new cool thing right now. And everybody's, on this train of, let's support women, let's help women. But I like how you strategized and how God has directed you to lead Table. Because sometimes I don't think you see yourself like that, but just being part of it and just watching you and how much you pray and how much thought you put through Table, and it's encouraging, and I don't know. I think it's amazing. So
Thank you.
that is one of the reasons I was like, we have to talk to Jennifer, because I think Tableland is amazing. It's helped so many people. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, you have a couple firsts that you can say. The first one I think is the Tableland. I haven't really seen a women's ministry in the Niagara region, the way we are doing stuff, right?
No,
I've not seen it like last weekend, how, giving those bags of food and just like watching people be grateful and help, like somebody sit, just being able to talk to somebody, because of COVID, you can't talk to anyone, but you have this opportunity to sit down with somebody and somebody actually shows care. They are praying for them. I've not seen anything like that anyway, per se, anyways.
I was saying to someone who wasn't there, I said it was like a mini festival.
True.
Right?
True, because we end up dancing and yeah.
Right. And then you have the other ministry across the street who was giving out clothes and
yeah.
And of course you would see more because you take the pictures,
Yeah.
and so you observe things that I wouldn't even see, because when I see your pictures I think, oh, look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you well know that I do the singing with Jody and Rebecca, and so we I don't get the chance, I have to get away sometimes just to talk to somebody that I think, okay, let me go talk to that person. But you're right. I don't really. Most of the times I'm not in the forefront with Tableland, but my vision for the ministry was never that I was in the forefront. It was to help women to bring their gifts and to use their gifts and to minister, right? And but I do my own ministry in the background.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Not sometimes, most of these very successful companies or ministries or organizations, most of the CEOs and like the actual like owners or founders, they're very rare people. Like they're not, you don't see them every day. They're not parading themselves everywhere, because at the end of the day, they're in the back doing the grunt work of it, and it is appreciated and it is seen. Especially this last outreach we had, I could see actual, like, we made an impact.
Absolutely,
we made an impact, to even if it was just that one person who got the bag of food, but the entire like the whole area, you could see there was life.
There's life,
which in itself is very powerful. And the fact that this is not the first one, right? We've done this a couple of times and intend to do it many more times. It's huge that it's something that you technically started as a small idea and a suggestion from God that you were running away from.
I know.
I can honestly relate, because the same thing is with this podcast. I had this idea probably my third year into the country. That's 2015. The first time I listened to a podcast, I was I don't know, something sat in my spirit that it's like modern radio, but not really, because you decide to listen to what you want to listen to.
Right.
And then I went through school. I did the whole president, vice president thing. And I'm like, there's people out there who have good things to say and things that people need to hear, and specifically women, because me being a woman myself, but also being a first at a bunch of things, it's good for other people to hear it so that they can be like, okay, this person was a regular person, is a regular person like me, but they pulled it out of themselves to go ahead and just do it, regardless of it not having been done before, right? And
of
the
course.
obstacles and everything.
And you have thoughts of failure.
Exactly.
But you can't be afraid of failing, right? because you learn so much.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I failed, my business failed.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't say it failed. It just didn't take off as you'd have liked it to be, because based off me just being like, part of the website and everything, if Jenny Lane did not exist, there's certain things that Tableland would not be able to do, right?
That is true.
So
That is true.
with that being there, and it might look like a failure or might feel like it failed, but I don't think I think it worked out anyways for the purpose it was.
It did.
Mm-hmm.
It did. But it came from failure to work it.
Exactly.
And it worked out in favor because I did in the end what God wanted me to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you're killing it. You're amazing at it.
Oh,
all right.
Thank you.
What is the best advice anyone has ever given you or that you have ever received?
So, yeah. It was some time ago, before I came to Canada. I have a friend in London. She's an older lady. Her name's Lee Lampton. And she sort of became my mentor. And she kind of led me and taught me to receive truth and to know truth.
Mm-hmm.
Because we could say something, we could believe something, and it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
We hear untruths all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so she actually taught me how to be truthful,
mm-hmm.
how to receive truth,
mm-hmm.
even if it's in the way of criticism. Because it makes you uncomfortable, you're vulnerable, all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's truth, then receive it.
Mm-hmm.
If you see yourself as this kind of person, you have to receive it even before you change. You change it. So truth is very important
mm-hmm.
to life.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, God is true,
mm-hmm.
right? And so a lot of people really lie to themselves,
mm-hmm.
right? And think, oh, this is who I am, and it's not,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
They choose a path, but it really is not their path,
mm-hmm.
and so that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Truth is walking in your path
mm-hmm.
that God made for you.
Mm-hmm. That's profound. Amazing. Thank you for that. Well, I'm not sure if this person might be one of them, but if you could mention 3 people who are most influential to you,
mm-hmm.
Either were or are the most influential to you, to your life.
Right. Maybe a couple of years ago, I would not have said this because I had a kind of a strange relationship with my mom
mm-hmm.
for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But the last 3 years or so, God has really opened my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that I need to honor my parents.
Mm-hmm.
And he started showing me things. And I'm going to say my parents
mm-hmm.
really influenced my life.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I think it was bad, wrong,
mm-hmm.
right, good,
mm-hmm.
they influenced my life.
That is.
And I made it till now, whether I had listened to them or not.
The influence was there.
The influence was there because my parents were ministers of the gospel and they walked right
mm-hmm.
according to what they knew
mm-hmm.
they walked. It was I who did not.
Mm-hmm.
It was me
mm-hmm.
that didn't want to do what they
mm-hmm.
had said. But now that I am an adult
mm-hmm.
and have accepted responsibility for my own life,
mm-hmm.
My parents were very influential
mm-hmm.
in my growth spiritually
mm-hmm.
because they taught me the word. And a lot of what I know now is what I learned back then,
True.
right? Where they would give us all the the psalms, and sometimes they're really long, and we had to learn them. And so at
Wow.
nights before we go to bed, we had to repeat or
Wow.
recite these scriptures,
Wow.
right? So you had to learn them. So yes, my parents were very influential to me. Yes, my friend Lee that I mentioned, and I'm gonna honor two women. There are other people. My sister, for example. It's hard to
The reason I chose
to pick
three is because when somebody says who are the most influential people, there is always those three people that come up first.
Right.
Because you're going to always have so many people that have influenced your life,
Yeah.
either bad or good. But the very first three people that come to your mind
Yeah.
was usually the
Yeah.
intent of the question.
Yeah.
Or
My sister, because I can pick up the phone anytime
Mhm.
and talk with her, and sometimes I tell her you have no heart, but she speaks the truth, right?
Yeah.
It's never it isn't always what you want to hear.
Yeah.
But as I said, true. And so yes, and she would not even believe that I would be calling her name in this category, but I do, because she is very influential in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk to her about things. And I know when I talk to her about things that if she doesn't know, she'd say, I don't know, but we'll pray.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And she's there, whether I need finance or right, she's there for me. And so yes.
Awesome. That's good to hear, because it's always good to have a good relationship with both your parents and your siblings, but it's also good that they make it into that influential category, right? I believe I have a good relationship with my sisters and my parents.
Yeah.
And like you, my parents are very, very, very like straight Christians, and like my dad and mom are evangelists. Like when growing up, I've probably said this before, we used to go on the streets and like after school and hand out literature and like tracts and stuff. I'll never forget, there was one time we just got back from school, and I think my mom was cooking or something, and so I think my dad was trying to pass time, so he's like, let's go hand this out. So we're standing there, it's super hot, because in Uganda it's so hot, it's like around 3-4, and I'm just standing there and I'm like handing out the pieces of paper, but the way he strategized it, if I give him a paper, the person has to go buy him, so then he can start talking to the person. He got into this discussion with a Muslim gentleman, and I have never seen my dad so like passionate talking about something. It was like as if they were arguing, but they're not arguing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he was very like so excited to talk about whatever he was discussing with this man. And at the end of the conversation, they exchanged contacts. But you could see that this man was intrigued in what my dad was saying. I was probably like in primary 3 or 4. So as a little girl, I didn't really pay attention to what they were saying. But as far as I could tell is that the discussion was intense. And it seemed he was happy, he was excited about it. So when you say your parents were like Christian, I can relate, because before we went to bed every night, we had a bell in the living room. So after dinner, my dad would go to the living room, give it like 5-10 minutes for us to like clear out the table, and then ring the bell. Man, and it was like a little mini service every night. Would like sing hymns and then read the Bible, and then would kneel down and pray, and everyone would go around the room and say a prayer. And looking at it now, I'm grateful for it, because I feel the need to pray before I sleep.
Right.
Just because it was ingrained. It feels weird for me not to like say something to God, or even to pray before I eat, because we used to sing a song before we eat, thanking God for the food. it was, if you want to know our Christian household, like you said, our house is
Yes. Yeah.
one of those. So I can
We
relate.
didn't like those things back
At
then,
that
right?
time, no.
But
No.
but then you grow up and you realize that these are the very things that you do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
And also it's good because
it's good.
you know, I get personally, like when I, like an example, we're talking about, I was talking to Tyrone about, you know, how like our kids and praying and like, and I sang the song, the song that we sing when we were growing up, and it's like, wait a minute, I sang that song too. We used to sing that song in school.
I think I know what that song is.
For health and strength
and daily food.
Yeah. So it was very, I don't know. It's in that moment it's like, oh my goodness, do we have to do this? But then at the same time, it's interesting that it is something that sticks in your head.
Yeah.
And it's now a desire for me to instill these values into my children. So that's good. That's good to know. All right. The next segment is She Tried It. So I'm going to ask you two unusual questions. Usually this is just to see how your thought process, and the answers usually speak to who you are as an individual.
Oh, wow.
If you are a plant, what kind of plant would you be and why?
Oh my goodness, Alice Mary.
Any plant in the world.
Well, it's funny because I don't know the names of plants.
Or flower, or it could be anything.
Okay. So there's this flower as a plant too, right? I when I bought my house, it was one of the first plants that I planted in the garden. Peonies, I think they're called peonies. Peonies.
Are they purple? Purplish,
No,
violet? No?
No, they're, well, no, I think they're either white or they are pink.
Okay.
But they're when they come up and they start blooming, they are huge. And if there's this, the stalk is so small,
Wow.
but they're so big and beautiful, right? And then you pick them and you put them in your vase, and you just need 2 or 3, and you have this big, huge, right? It's like it's just so full, right? And they're beautiful, and the petals are small and just so in place. But I love them, and they're my favorite plants. And, so yes, that's a peony.
Okay. All right. How would you sell hot chocolate in the hottest country in the world?
Oh my goodness. Word of mouth. You give to people, you sell to people. You make it so good. You do. You would make it so good that they would taste it and they can't stop talking about it. And they'd go, whether it's like they come for a holiday, but they'd go home and talk about this hot chocolate. And then people would come and want to go more and try.
So you'd work around the recipe and make sure it's like the most amazing chocolate. Yes. Awesome. All right. This one is usually a surprise request. And also this speaks to your identity as a person. Right now on your phone, what is your wallpaper and why?
I don't have anything.
So should that speak to how busy you are or how tech savvy you are?
No. Things I love, I keep in my heart.
Oh, okay.
I I could put my grandkids there, but they're in my heart. And I don't feel like I have to put something there. Okay. I don't know. Maybe I'm not.
No. That's fair. That's fair to you, right? Because I can also say you are also a private person, right? You're a very private person, and by you putting whatever you're putting on, anyway, I put whatever's on my screensaver or my wallpaper because I want people to see it. If anyone touches
Yeah.
my phone, if it populates, you see what's on there because
Yeah.
I want. But also, you're a very private person, as far as I know, right? So
It's not that I've hidden myself, because in a conversation I will speak to people, but I'm not, for example, the Facebook person who will just put myself out there.
yeah,
And it's not because I'm afraid. It's just because, okay, if you want to know me, get to know me.
Makes
Yeah.
sense, and that's only fair, right? And also the whole Facebook and social media, it's not.
It's generational too,
Exactly.
because I'm older, and
Exactly.
I didn't have Facebook when I was growing up.
Mhm.
It was not my way of communicating.
Yeah.
So, and also, I didn't grow up with my mom saying, "Oh yeah, do this or do that." I had to figure it out. We weren't told. My dad told me I was good at business. He used to get me to write all his business letters when we used to write letters back then. Right. And so he used to call me, "Come on, we need to write letters, whether it's to school, the government, whatever." And he would tell me what he wanted, and I would write the letter, right? So it was never like, okay, do this or do that. We had to figure it out. And I always say that I was a late bloomer because I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. So
okay, that's only fair. And my mom is, I think, the same as you. So with WhatsApp, first of all, her profile picture on WhatsApp is 3 figurines of me and my sisters. So I came up with these little cartoon versions of me and my sisters, and she's like, "Put it together for me. I want to make it my profile picture." It's been her profile picture for what, 2 years now?
Right. Okay. So yeah.
And also when my sisters and I change our profile pictures and put our actual faces, she's like, no, don't put your faces out there. I'm like, come on, Mom, like it's fine. No, you don't have to put your faces out there. I'm like,
it is funny. Like, my son does not put his children's pictures on Facebook. And he has not encouraged them. I don't even think my grandson is 9. And I don't think he knows about Facebook. Because my son still download things and put on his iPad, and he watches those, and he thinks he's watching TV.
So, yeah, I can see the whole it being a generational difference as well, but it's only fair. And when you talked about letters,
yes.
I remembered how my dad used to write letters to my mom, and he's like, "You guys are so lucky." He would write. So he's in the UK doing Bible school, and my mom's in Uganda. He's writing to his girlfriend a letter.
A letter. Yes.
She gets it in 2 weeks.
Yes.
That's if it even gets there in 2 weeks.
Yes.
She reads it. She writes. And then he has to wait for another 2 or 3 weeks to get a reply. and he's like, "And you're worried that your boyfriend is not picking up your phone or not texting you back? Really?"
That's the thing, right? Yes, you had to wait.
Patience.
And you didn't know anything else.
Yeah.
Right?
Even photography, as thinking about patience and waiting, photography has changed. Back in the day, you take pictures, you go to the film, it processes for 2-3 weeks, you go print them. Now I take a picture on my phone, instantly it's right there.
Right.
That's it. It's so interesting when you talk about like generational changes and growth, which is good to an extent, but I think also there's need to be careful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There is danger, and so you have to. It's kind of a worldly wisdom too, that you need to know how to guard yourself.
All right, so we're going to the second last segment. She got it, and this is the rapid fire questions.
Oh wow!
Do not overthink it. Just answer them as you see fit.
I overthink everything.
Just give it 2 seconds. 2 seconds, and then. All right, texting or talking?
Talking.
Favorite day of the week?
I'd say Sunday.
Favorite city besides the one you live in?
I'm going to say London.
Name a word that starts
Let me
with.
say London, England.
London, England. True.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's a London in Canada.
Right.
Favorite name that starts with Q.
Oh, Queen.
Good one. Good one. Last song you listened to.
Mercy by um Elevation and Average City. I love
It's a
that
good
song. It's
song.
my latest.
It's a good one. What is something you could eat for at least a week straight?
Oh my. Soup.
Yeah, because it could be any type of soup.
I cook it because I live alone. I cook like a big pot and I put it in the
Right.
fridge, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Speaking of soup, when we were sick, Jennifer made us a pot of soup, a huge pot of soup. That got us like far because we were not feeling well. It was really good. It was really good soup. Just so the world knows,
Yeah,
you
I
make
made
some
a
good
chicken
soup. Yes, you did. Favorite holiday?
Becoming like a beach holiday these days because I don't get enough of the sun and the sea
Okay.
anymore.
Dawn or dusk?
Dusk.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
I'm not an early riser.
I am such an early. I could be up at whatever ways of the morning.
No.
But I will fall asleep in 2 seconds.
No, I love the dusk, especially on the beach.
Makes sense. The sunset and everything. Favorite type of tea?
Oh wow. Well, green tea, I'd say, because I drink a lot of green tea.
And then the last one, on a scale to 1 to 10, how good of a driver are you?
Goodness me, I'm going to say I got 7.
7. Okay.
So I could have gone higher.
You could say 10 out of 10.
I actually am a good driver.
Yeah.
I think I am.
So 10. All right. The last part of this segment is, do you have a question for me? Any questions for me or any questions for me?
No, I think I just want to commend you, really.
Oh,
like
thank you.
You spoke earlier about why you started doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I encourage you all the time.
Yes, you do.
Alice Mary, get it
and
done.
you hold me accountable. Yeah.
Whatever you're doing, get it done,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I'm very happy that you're doing this because you wanted to do this. You have wanted to do this for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you feel now that you're doing it?
Honestly, in the beginning, I was scared. I was very, very scared because I was like, who is going to want to sit down and talk about their lives for free? Right? Because now everything costs something. Everyone's time costs something. And it's not like I'm making anything off this, right? This is purely information to share, to encourage. So I was scared, first of all, the time to do it, as well as will it pick up? Will people care? Will it make an impact? But I just right now I'm a little bit more comfortable and confident, a little bit more. There's more to learn, as we go on, and I'm praying for growth. But I feel better and more confident because if I'm honest with you, the first time the idea came to me, I was like, this is crazy. Because I went online and to see what it takes to start a podcast.
It's always crazy, right?
Right? How much it would cost, what equipment I would need. I was just like, I can't do this. It's not possible. And I was just listening to other people's podcasts, and I've never edited sound before, so I'd have to teach myself how to edit sound, and like editing sound and editing pictures is completely different. So I'd have to teach myself how to do that. So I'm like, where am I going to get the time for all this? But I just kept praying, and I really wanted to do it because, the whole concept of a first woman, it's a big deal because we live in a world where we're getting better with time, but women have not really been celebrated for taking the initiative to be first, because not everyone's going to accept, as a female, that you're going to be the first one to do this, right?
Yeah.
Even my experience as the first Black female student union president, there was so much pushback and, can you do it? Do you know what you're doing? There's a lot of mansplaining as well. And it's like, I just said that. Why are you saying it again? Right. But right now, where I'm at with the podcast and how it's going, I'm grateful. I'm thankful, because out of that 25 people that I've asked to interview, only one said I'm not comfortable doing it, and that's fair. But everyone else is excited, has been, good to work with. So I'm happy, and who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
So then, it's now become your passion.
Yeah.
So then you're gonna have to make it work for you. So
Yes.
we just have to come up with a good business model.
Yeah, you are right. You are right. To be honest, the way I was looking at the podcast is the way, and maybe eventually with time I have to start thinking about, being able to sustain it. And that's definitely going to be something I have to sit down and, think of and plan for. For sure. But at the end of the day, the main value, or the mission for She First is for that to be that place where you get to hear, how hard it was,
right,
what was done to conquer whatever was in the way, and how good God is, and in regards to where whatever guest I'm talking to is. So, but you're right. Definitely we'll be having to sit down and start thinking about sustainability.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah, because after you've gone on for a little while, you think, okay, it changes. Because I've seen that too. It with Tableland. You start a little, and then things come, and you have to work out. Okay, now is this gonna go with my branding? Is this fitting for what I'm doing? And there are lots of obstructions, right? And you have to come in really soft in terms of, you can't flood the market, so to speak, right? Or what we would call the market. You just have to move. And when the changes are about to happen, then you will see it, because it's your vision.
Yeah.
And so you will know when to move. But good work.
Thank you. I appreciate you for taking the time to come out here and have this conversation with me. I had fun.
I did too. Yeah.
And it's also just nice hearing, you talk about, like, your life, what you've gone through, and how far you've come. So it's encouraging as well, regardless of how many times I've heard it. I'm so glad somebody else out there is going to be able to hear it and be encouraged. So I appreciate that. No problem.
I appreciate it that you asked me.
Perfect. I was not going to not ask you. So the last part, which is give us the tea.
More?
Yes, it's the last one. If you could give your younger self, if you could write your younger self a letter, what would be the first two sentences? First two sentences. Your younger self. So let's say your 15-year-old self.
I would say, love yourself. Love, no, the other way around. Love God and love yourself. Because if you don't love yourself, you can't love other people. And
that's so true.
We don't learn that early enough, I think. We go through all this stuff, and then we realize, oh no, we have to
love ourselves first. Right?
Yeah. The Bible tells us love God and love your fellow man, right? And it is so true. At 15, I wasn't loving God, and so Yes.
Okay. So love God and then love yourself.
Yes.
All right, we're done for today's episode. If you have any, you did mention you're not too fond with the social medias, but if there's any platform anyone would like to reach you on, maybe an email address, whether somebody would want to talk to you, or maybe be part of Tableland and contribute in any way. Is there any platforms that you'd like to share?
Well, with Tableland, as you well know, we are on the social media platform, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're there. On a personal level, jennylane60@gmail.com.
Okay.
And so they can contact me there, or they can contact me, Jenny Lane Events.
On Facebook as well.
Yeah. Jenny Lane Events at gmail.com. Or you can contact me on Facebook, Tableland Women's Ministries.
True. So I will put everything in the description.
Okay.
The ones that you've mentioned that
Yes.
you would like to share. And if anyone wants to reach out for prayer, some more information on Tableland Women's Ministry, and just another person to pray for you. I think Jennifer is the best at that as well. All right. Thank you so much for coming out today.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. And we'll close out with a huge thank you. All right.